We finally have the Switch 2, and after many days hoping the pre-orders restock and searching which of my local stores wouldn't be absolutely mobbed on launch day, I have one too. Now for most people this just means hype and excitement for better frame rates, playing Mario Kart World, and making funny faces on a oddly low quality camera. It is really cute though. Girl, that camera quality is grainier than a bag of rice, but it is so cute that I don't even care. For me though, it's a little bit different. One of the things that I am the most excited about is what exactly the Pokémon franchise is going to look like within the Switch 2's lifespan. Pokémon Legends Z-A is about to be our first in line of who knows how many entries into the series that we're gonna play, and it's already looking like a brand new Pokémon experience like we've never seen before. We are getting both a Switch and Switch 2 version of the game, and for the Switch 2 version we've already seen improved quality, frame rates, sprites, and models, and a whole lot of new features to enjoy. Maybe I'm just some crazed Pokémon lunatic, which is absolutely nothing new. But I'm very optimistic that we are going to be getting even more new titles other than Pokémon Legends Z-A that will shake up the way that we know and play Pokémon as we enter a brand new era on a brand new console. If you're excited for today's NintenDomenic Direct, make sure to go down below and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content of mine, and if you are just as excited for the future of Pokémon on Switch 2 as I am. NintenDomenic Direct. How have I never thought about that until now? Probably because I don't want to get copyrighted. Nintendo, girl, please don't. I love you. One of my favorite PokeTubers, Munching Orange, actually just made an awesome video talking about the future of the Pokemon series on Switch 2 as well, and he makes a lot of fantastic points, a lot of opinions that I share, and I definitely think you should go check that video out as well, because a lot of the things that he talks about and says are a lot of things that I absolutely agree with, and are also a lot of things I might talk about in today's video as well too. But before we go ahead and dive into what I think Pokemon's going to look like on the Switch 2, we need to take a trip back in time, you know, a couple of months, and take a look at what exactly Pokemon looked like when it was coming out on the original Switch. I would say the Switch era of Pokemon was really defined by a couple of things. Those things being a lot of graphic discussion, gameplay discourse, lots of load time concerns, and experimenting with the open world aspect of Pokemon that I feel like we've gotten pretty used to at this point. But it wasn't always that way. It was once a time in our Pokemon history to where an open world Pokemon game was nary just a thought, but something that we had never received, and now I feel like it's just something that we kind of expect in Pokemon, but I don't know, it's definitely interesting to see how we're gonna move forward. The way that I kind of look at it is kind of like when Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom came out for the Zelda series. We had such an expansive and in-depth and detailed open world that it's like, where do you go from here? Do you just keep expanding, or do you take a trip back every now and then like we did with Echoes of Wisdom? Sorry if you're not a Zelda fan and you don't get those references, but I'm also a very, very big Zelda nerd. So if you're not a Zelda person, what I mean by this is essentially once you go so big in scope and have such an open world, where do you go? We definitely got a lot of different types of entries for the Switch era of Pokemon. I mean, we had Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, we had Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and of course you also had some spin-off titles like the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Remake, Detective Pikachu, and new Pokemon Snap, as well as many, many others. I still argue to this day that I think the best graphical representation of Pokemon we have ever gotten in a game is new Pokemon Snap. I mean, have you seen the game? It's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. Like, I wish my life looked as good and high quality as that game. That being said, graphical discourse is one of the biggest things that has been talked about through the entire Switch's lifespan for Pokemon at least, and a lot of people had a lot of different types of concerns of what the games looked like. That tree from Sword and Shield, don't think I forgot. And I felt like this era of Pokemon was them really finding their footing. A prime example of this being Pokemon Legends Arceus, and really just switching up the entire format for Pokemon period, and it really worked and was one of the most successful Pokemon entries on the Switch because of how much it switched up everything we were expecting. Which is also why I have such high hopes for Pokemon Legends Z-A, but we'll get there. I think the biggest two things that I want to talk about for the Switch 1 era of Pokemon is Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, of course, with those being our latest two generations. This is also really important to look back on and discuss because we're soon going to be getting Generation 10 because it's very clearly going to be released on the Switch 2 within its life cycle, and so Gen 10 is coming. Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think, really was the step that Pokemon took into the open world that we have now come to expect and really got in Scarlet and Violet. Sword and Shield, I think, played a very big part in open world Pokemon as we know it, with the wild area, I think, being Pokemon's really big first step. The wild area, of course, being this massive expansive land between cities and towns where you could just traverse all over the place, find Pokemon all over the place, and it was really fun. This was kind of giving like baby's first open world Pokemon game. Wasn't exactly there, but we get there eventually. Legends Arceus further expands on this by having like sectioned off open world, so not truly open world, but giving us the kind of like same vibe. And then we get to Scarlet and Violet, the most controversial thing I've ever seen. There's a lot to talk about Scarlet and Violet. I could make an entire video just talking about Scarlet and Violet, but that is not the purpose of today's video. Today we're talking about the future of Pokemon, so I'm just going to talk about the things that we need to talk about for Scarlet and Violet that I think will have something to do with where we go from here. A lot of this having to do with the new updated version that we just received for Switch 2. I have played the updated version of Scarlet and Violet, and it does actually fix a lot of the issues that we have come to know and not love about the original Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the Switch. Now, it is no secret that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet had its share of graphical glitches, frame rate errors, and some areas that were just so laggy that you quite physically did not even want to be there. Lake Casseroya and Tagtree Thicket just being two of them. It was an experience like I had never seen in the Pokemon series before, and it upset a lot of people. I mean, pretty much whenever it rained in-game, I felt like I was actually throwing my Switch into a puddle outside. But the new Switch 2 version that we got has had a massive upgrade, and the game feels like it's supposed to feel. This is what the game was actually supposed to play like the whole time. I never thought that being able to open a menu at a decent speed was something that I needed this badly. I didn't know how crazy it was to feel like I actually know what Pokemon I'm looking at inside the boxes without having to wait 15 seconds for it to load in. I didn't realize that when you traveled from Paldea to Kitakami that in the original version it felt like I was actually taking a flight in real time. And not even a regular flight, like a flight with delays, which I've had plenty of experience on, unfortunately. I feel like every flight that I'm on is delayed, but that's a story for another day. Y'all, just speaking for me personally and as someone who has played this updated version, everything just feels so much better. Like, this feels like the game that I dreamt of when Scarlet and Violet was coming out and all the hype and excitement was there. This was the game that I was hyped and excited about. The load times were better, the animation was better in the battles and terastallizing. I could actually shiny hunt in Lake Casseroya. I couldn't believe it. I have been wanting a shiny Veluza all this time, but guess where I don't want to go to shiny hunt it? Lake Casseroya. But now I can actually go there and it looks great. Everything runs smoothly. I can actually go through the water without feeling like I'm glitching through the earth. Now, of course, I do need to acknowledge what I already know people are typing out in the comments. I can already see it now. I already hear it now. There are people out there that are very, very upset about this, that feel like that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet should not have needed a new console in order to just run how it should have been able to run when it was released. And to those people, I say, I hear you, I see you, and I agree. I'm a massive Pokemon fan. I love the series. It brings me a lot of joy, but I do think it's also important to acknowledge that, you know, not everyone is available to get a Switch 2, and you can't expect people to get an entirely new console just to be able to play a game how you think it should have played during release. So I'm with you there, and I really hope that this speaks volumes to Pokemon and moving forward that they take a lot more time with developing their games to make sure that everything can run as smoothly as they can and that they have a fully functional game before releasing it, or at least I would hope so. And with how long Legends Z-A has been in development and has still not come out with how long ago it was announced, I really do have high hopes that Pokemon has learned this lesson and that they are being more considerate, they are taking more time, and that is part of the reason why I am so excited for Pokemon Legends Z-A. But that being said, lessons learned aside, I still love Pokemon, and I'm going to take this as a positive, and if you are able to get a Switch 2 or someone who already has a Switch 2, I do highly recommend playing the revamped Pokemon Scarlet and Violet because it is a completely new gaming experience. It felt like a launch title for the Switch 2. It was that different. Y'all, I do still agree with you that this is not something that should be expected. I would never want to see something like this happen again, but that all being said, I am still happy that we did get an upgraded version because I think Scarlet and Violet is an amazing game and it definitely deserved to be that final polished game that it deserved to be. Of course, there is still errors here and there. It's not a perfect game by any means, but I do still think you should absolutely play it if you are able to. Would I recommend that you get a Switch 2 just to play it? No, probably not. But would I recommend that you get a Switch 2 for things moving forward in the series, like Legends Z-A and anything after it? Yes, absolutely. I think this new version of Scarlet and Violet would just be something nice to add on to everything else. So the future of Pokemon, I think, is going to be massively defined by how Scarlet and Violet came out and how this new version of it is currently being received on Switch 2. I think they're taking a lot of lessons, a lot of notes from this, or at least I hope they are. And I think this will entirely change how they develop games moving forward. Like I said before, with the perfect example being the change in development time of Pokemon Legends Z-A, and I think moving forward, a lot of games will just take take more time. Another subject that I wanted to talk about before we dive into the big obvious one that we all are waiting for, we're all wanting to talk about. Zygarde, you've waited long enough and you're still waiting. I promise we'll get to you eventually, girl. I need to talk about this just in my heart, in my soul. We were not going this video without talking about it. And for those of you who know me personally, who know what I love and what I'm about, you already know exactly what I'm about to say. We have to talk about Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. And no, I am not just including this in today's video because I am a crazed super fan, which I am. That's absolutely true. I'm still a crazed super fan no matter what. But the reason I'm including this in today's video is I think this actually might play a role in the future of Pokemon on Switch 2 just as much. Now hear me out here. Maybe this is me being delusional. Maybe this has no weight or water whatsoever. Maybe this holds no ground, but I'm still gonna say it. Just think about it. Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness are games that fans have been clamoring for the return, for a port, a remaster, a remake, literally anything, literally just acknowledging that these games exist for the longest time. And the fact that we are finally getting them in a port that we can play on an updated console, on an updated system, on the Switch 2, I don't think is a coincidence. And of course, there's gonna be the people out there, I know you're already typing it, I know, I get it, that, oh, they're just doing this for money, oh, they're just doing this so people pay for their program for, you know, the Switch Online and the GameCube Classics. And sure, yes, two things can be true at once. They're probably doing it for that reason, but as well, this could mean something moving forward for re-entering older entries into the series and bringing them into a newer light for a new audience. There are probably a lot of Pokemon fans out there who have never even heard of Pokemon Colosseum or XD Gale of Darkness, let alone played them. And so re-releasing them in a port on the Switch 2, something that a lot of people are probably going to be getting in the future, is a great idea to bring back a lot of attention to a lot of the former classics that some people may have not gotten the opportunity to play. What do I think this means for the series moving forward? I think that this means we are opening the door to potentially getting a lot more classic Pokemon games from the older original years. This may finally open the door to that classic Pokemon collection we have all been waiting for. Look, I'm not guaranteeing anything, I'm not promising anything. This is still very, very hazy. Nothing is confirmed. I just think that it is possible more than ever before on Switch 2. This is just a theory that I am proposing, a game theory. Okay, I'll stop. But if they are willing to re-release these older games that they don't really ever acknowledge or talk about, but fans have wanted to see for so long, who's to say that they don't re-release other older games that people have also been wanting for a long time to introduce them to a newer audience? So like I said, I'm not promising anything. I don't think that anything is guaranteed, but I do think that XD Gale of Darkness and Colosseum being re-released in this way on Switch 2 maybe just means that they're opening the door a little bit wider to some of these older games coming back. I personally have a lot of games that I would like to see come back, specifically the return of the Pokemon Ranger series. Now look, I'm not going to dive into this too much because I really do want to script out and make an entire video just talking about Pokemon Ranger and how badly I want to see a return of the series. It's one of my personal favorites. So I'm not going to dive into it completely just yet. I'm not going to bust your eardrums yelling and screaming about it. But just know that I heard from my uncle that works at Nintendo that the sole reason that they made the mouse feature on the Switch 2 Joy-Cons is to make the styler little loops for Pokemon Ranger. That's the sole reason that they did it. I know for a fact. And I won't be accepting any other opinions at this time, thank you. But the moment that you have all been waiting for, we are finally going to talk about Pokémon Legends Z-A, and moving forward for the future of Pokemon, what new games are going to mean for the future. Pokémon Legends Z-A is going to be our big new Pokemon experience leading into what it's going to look like on Switch 2, and I think there's a lot of hype and expectation on Legends Z-A, rightfully so, because a lot of people are looking to this as what we can see moving forward, what Pokemon's gonna look like. I have a lot of high hopes because everything in the trailers and everything we've seen so far looks really, really good. I mean, the gameplay looks great, Mega Evolution, the return of it, I mean, who's not excited for that? And as we learned from Pokemon Legends Arceus, the Legends series is one of the most open and experimental series in all of Pokemon, where they do a lot of changing of the battle systems and changing of the way that Pokemon operates, and it worked really well with Pokemon Legends Arceus to where it is now in my top 3 Pokemon entries, like, of all time. I loved all the switch ups. I love the change to the normal format and just kind of throwing a wrench in the plans, and we weren't expecting it at all. And I love that about it. And so I hope that Legends Z-A kind of keeps that same energy moving forward, and that the Legends series continues to prosper, and I would love to see more Legends series down the line. I definitely think that the Switch 2 is going to be out long enough to where Legends Z-A is not going to be the only Legends title that we get on the Switch 2. I definitely, a couple years down the line, would love to see another one. I think what Legends Z-A can also symbolize for the future of the series is a change in the format of bringing back Mega Evolution. We have never really seen a return of a gimmick as huge as this, and we already know that in Pokemon Champions, all of our gimmicks are going to be featured, and I think Mega Evolution coming back is going to really impact, you know, competitive Pokemon and everything going on in the tournaments. For the Pokemon trading card game, they're already doing a whole new set based on Mega Evolution, so that's already changing a lot. We also see in Legends Z-A a change of our battle system and format, which is really similar to the anime, where you're moving around in real time trying to dodge attacks in a way that you never have before. And I have been personally waiting for a game that looks like this, has battles that move like this. As a huge fan of the anime, this is super freaking exciting, and I really hope that they don't just limit this to Legends Z-A, and I hope in the future that we continue battle styles like this, because I think it's really exciting, and it gets you as the player really involved, feeling like you, the trainer, are in the battle yourself. Legends Arceus had a little bit of this vibe, but not nearly as much as it looks like Legends Z-A is going to. There's also a lot riding on the storyline of Legends Z-A, and what exactly a new storyline would look like for a new Pokemon entry like this, and I think that Scarlet and Violet did a really good job with the storyline, and so I hope that Pokemon is on a good track, on a good roll with storylines and characters. I have really, really high hopes in that regard, because there were so many things about Scarlet and Violet that I loved. I mean, all of our rival characters, Nemona, Arven, Penny, the whole storyline with Area Zero. I loved Kieran in the DLC. Like, I hope that this is a really, really good sign, and that Legends Z-A, everything is really good with that. We look like we have a good, nice set of characters here, and I love seeing the return of AZ, and I can't wait to see what storyline comes from that. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, Legends Z-A is not going to be the only Pokemon entry we get on Switch 2. Duh, obviously. There's gonna be a lot more after that, or at least I really hope so. I think some things that we for sure are going to get within the Switch 2's lifespan within those couple of years is going to be a Black and White remake. I think we can come to expect Generation 10, of course, is gonna come out at some point, and I would love to see more Pokemon spin-offs just come out in general. It's been a long time since we've had, you know, the golden age of Pokemon spin-offs, and I really would love them to come back. So after going through all of these things, what is my general consensus on what I think Pokemon is going to look like in the Switch 2? And if I had to choose just one word to define it, I think I'm gonna go with consistency. Like I said before, the era of Pokemon on Switch was very experimental. They were trying out a lot of different things, and they were just doing like thing after thing after thing, and sometimes not even really taking a lot of time to develop them, just getting out the next fresh thing. I think Switch 2 is going to be different. I think they are taking a lot more time to develop these things. They're taking a lot more time to be considerate, and I do think, as much as you may think that they're not, I do think maybe they are listening to the fans a little bit more, and maybe not doing exactly what the fans want, because you can't as a company always do what the fans are looking for, let's be real, but I think even just a little bit more, maybe are listening to the feedback and listening to the critique, and I think that this is a really good sign moving forward, or at least I would like to choose to believe so. Of course, these are all just my opinions and things that I am personally hoping for and what I believe the future of Pokemon is going to look like, but definitely let me know down in the comment section below what you would like to see for the future of Pokemon, and if you're someone who is not too optimistic about it and you're not a big fan of Switch 2, you haven't liked any of the last couple Pokemon entries, what is something that you would like to see? How would you like to see them move the series forward? What types of new games would you like to see? I would love to hear out everybody's opinions here. Pokemon is one of my favorite series, if not my favorite series. I mean, I pretty much have an entire channel dedicated to Pokemon at this point. I have that much fun talking about it, so I can't wait to see what the future holds for the Pokemon series on Switch 2, and I know that y'all are excited too. You clicked on this video for a reason, and we're just a big group of nerds all excited to geek out about Pokemon together. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I hope to see y'all in the next video. Now, of course, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go and do something that for the longest time I have not been able to do. Go and shiny hunt that freaking Veluza at Lake Casaroya. It's been 84 years.